You walk into the garden center. The air is heavy with moisture, and every aisle is a wall of flawless, blooming color. But buying plants in this moment is a trap. Nurseries specifically stock inventory at peak bloom to trigger an impulse purchase. The bright petals hide the reality of the transaction. You are actually signing a 10-year maintenance contract. Unlike seasonal flowers that die off in the winter, shrubs act as the permanent architectural foundation of your landscape. They are the structural walls of your yard. Choose the wrong foundation, and you face two highly frustrating outcomes. You either spend your weekends constantly fighting local climate and soil conditions, or you eventually absorb the financial loss of ripping out a dead, expensive mistake. The core dilemma for any homeowner is balancing that initial desire for stunning curb appeal with the reality of your local environment. More importantly, you have to accurately assess your own willingness to actually do the weekend yard work required to keep those plants alive. To solve this, we need to stop looking at common yard shrubs by their botanical taxonomy. Instead, we have to evaluate them strictly based on your lifestyle return on investment. This diagram shows how your primary landscaping goal dictates that return. Every planting decision branches into one of three paths: achieving maximum color and blooms, building privacy and structure, or securing zero weekend maintenance. Matching the specific biology of a plant to your specific human behavior is the only reliable way to prevent costly failures and ensure your garden survives over the long haul. We can visualize this trade-off using the shrub selection matrix. This chart plots a plant's required physical labor on the vertical axis against its primary functional purpose in your yard on the horizontal axis. Let's start with the first category, the high-yield showstoppers. This group includes popular choices like roses, gardenias, hibiscus, camellias, and bougainvillea. Placing these on our matrix, they land firmly in the top right corner. They require the highest possible physical labor in exchange for the highest aesthetic reward. Keeping these plants alive and blooming demands intense specific inputs. You have to execute precise seasonal pruning, manage aggressive pest control regimens, and strictly monitor both soil pH and watering schedules. The outcome of that labor is undeniable. You earn spectacular, high-status floral displays that anchor your entire property's aesthetic and command attention from the street. But the trade-off is heavy. Aside from the massive time debt, many of these plants look completely bare, woody, or distinctly untidy for the months they sit outside their specific blooming windows. This brings us to the second aesthetic category, the fragrance specialists, specifically varieties like jasmine, Arabian jasmine, and night-blooming jasmine. On the matrix, these map directly alongside the showstoppers. They share that high aesthetic focus, but come with their own unique structural demands. Their required inputs revolve around location and support. They need strategic placement near open windows or active patios, plus regular trellising. Your outcome is an incredible olfactory payoff that significantly enhances evening outdoor living. The structural trade-off here is discipline. Fragrance specialists possess highly unruly, vine-like growth habits. If you do not strictly contain them, they look messy during the day and throughout their off-seasons. The reality of both high-yield and fragrant shrubs is clear. They demand that you treat gardening as an active, physically demanding hobby, rather than passive home decoration. Shifting our focus to the structural side of the matrix, we find shrubs designed to do the heavy architectural lifting for the property, entirely abandoning the goal of floral displays. This is our third category, the aggressive utility screeners. This group includes plants like Duranta, Lantana, Oleander, and Coranda. These land in the upper left of our chart. They provide tremendous structure for your yard, but they still demand a moderate amount of physical labor to keep them under control. Once established, their inputs are highly drought-tolerant. The outcome is rapid, dense growth that creates exceptional privacy hedging and effective windbreaks. The trade-offs lie in containment and safety. You have to execute frequent, aggressive shearing to maintain their shape, and they can easily become invasive. More importantly, plants like oleander carry severe toxicity risks if you have pets or young children. That brings us to our final category, the low-friction foliage set. Think of plants like croton, dracaena, pittosporum, juniper, and henna or Malabar nut.
These drop right into the bottom left of our matrix. If you want to save time, this is your ultimate choice. Their inputs are nearly non-existent. This is true set-and-forget planting, with highly forgiving soil requirements and almost zero need for supplemental watering. The outcome is consistency. You get dependable, year-round architectural shape and steady foliage color that never quits. The aesthetic trade-off is patience. You have to accept extremely slow growth rates and a total absence of traditional, showy floral displays. Choosing structural utility shrubs forces a direct compromise. You sacrifice vibrant, attention-grabbing blooms in direct exchange for dependable property boundaries and reclaimed weekend hours. Evaluating these plants in a vacuum is helpful, but making a final decision requires applying this data directly to your actual, everyday lifestyle constraints. This scorecard matrix translates the plant data into 3 distinct homeowner profiles: the hands-off homeowner, the pragmatist, and the weekend warrior. Let's look at the time-poor beginner, our hands-off homeowner. Your core motivation is having a yard that works for you, rather than spending time working for the yard. You need to completely avoid the flowering showstoppers, and instead invest heavily in junipers, pittosporum, and dracaena. Your payoff is guaranteed: year-round greenery and zero weekend labor, paid for by giving up bright spring colors. Next is the functional gardener, our pragmatist. Your primary motivation is defining your property lines and blocking out the neighbors. You should plant high-density rows of Duranta, Lantana, or Ixora. You achieve a fast, dense living wall, but you accept the commitment of running a hedge trimmer multiple times a season to prevent a total yard takeover. Finally, we have the aesthetic optimizer, the weekend warrior. Your motivation is treating gardening as a dedicated, active hobby to completely maximize your curb appeal. You can fully commit to roses, gardenias, and camellias. You earn a magazine-quality landscape, provided you accept the ongoing financial and time costs of specialized fertilizers, constant pruning, and rigorous winterizing. The ultimate rule of landscaping is simple. There is no universally best shrub sitting at the garden center. There is only the shrub that perfectly mirrors your personal willingness to labor.